All right, we are live on Zoom and live on YouTube.
Thank you, Chris. Let's call this meeting to order, the May 13th, 2026 meeting of the Rockbridge County Planning Commission. We have a new member tonight. Everybody welcome Jay Melvin. Bob Kramer did a nice job and retired. All right, roll call. Commission member Sabrizi.
Here.
Commission member Melvin.
Here.
Commission member Sandridge.
Here.
Commission member Whitmore.
Here.
Commission member Beebe is here as well. In addition to citizens attending the meeting in person, citizens have several options to view or participate in the Zoom meeting webinar as described below. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join the Rockbridge County Planning Commission Zoom webinar, the link is available on the county website to copy into the address line on your browser. To join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Planning Commission YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you are calling in by telephone. This time we will proceed with the meeting. This is the citizen comment portion of the meeting. Is there anybody physically present to speak?
There's no one that has signed up. I will remind that we do not have a public hearing for this meeting. So this citizen comment period is the time that's available to speak. That is correct.
Say that again, Viv.
We do not have a public hearing associated with this meeting tonight. So the citizen comment period is the only available time that we have for comments.
For everybody.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So
okay. Even on the plats and everything.
Correct, because
Okay.
that is not a public hearing.
Okay.
And so if anyone wishes to speak on that topic, now would be the time.
Okay. Y'all follow that? This is the time to.
Could we allow some public comment after hearing
even if someone didn't sign up, the chair can recognize people who would like to speak if you wish to do something.
Let's do that.
be beneficial?
But following the overview of what
No, this is, it's only done during the public comment period. That's the only time for this meeting.
we did
was
it
to
last
speak.
time, last subdivision we had a few weeks ago, we did that. Tom opened it up.
Oh, well, the proper order would be to allow the comments during the citizen comment time. Obviously, the board, you can suspend your Robert's rules and your rules to ask for comments from people at any time during the meeting if you'd like. But the proper order would be to have the comments done during citizen comment time. And then when you get to the topic, follow whatever you think is the proper way to do things.
Thank you, John. Should we stick with protocol? Does anybody care?
I don't have objection either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is everybody here going to speak on the subdivision? Let's get our presentations, and if it's okay, you tell me when the proper time to.
No, that's perfectly fine. You control the meeting. You can decide to do that.
Okay, let's proceed with the meeting, and I'm going to let everybody speak after the presentations. Okay. Board reports.
Yes, since the April 8th Planning Commission meeting, there have been several actions by the Board of Supervisors. At its April 13th, 2026 meeting, the board discussed moving the LDR regulations from Appendix A to chapters of County Code. The board is planning to hold a public hearing at their May 25th meeting on that topic. Also, at its meeting on April 13, the board held a public hearing to modify Section 1300.02 of the regulations to update the site plan review process. The agenda item was approved at that meeting. At its meeting on April 27th, the board approved the Renovating Rockbridge LLC application, which was an application for a special exception permit to construct a storage business in the B1. The TCO met on May the 6th and reviewed plans for auto towing and repair, had submitted an application for an office building at a piece of vacant property on Park Place. And Muchacho Alegre restaurant at 640 North Lee Highway submitted a plan for a patio roof over an outdoor seating area. That's existing seating area. They're putting a roof over that. Both of those applications were approved. The BZA did not meet in April. The Community Development Committee met on April the 20th, and its next meeting is on May 18th, Monday.
Thank you, Neil. Hey, I forgot to do the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Any questions or comments? I get a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Okay, the first item on the list is the Cruz subdivision, preliminary plat subdivision review in the general residential R1 zoning district. Property is located at the northwestern intersection of Southwest View Drive, Route 1503, and Moreland Boulevard, Route 1503.
Yes, Mr. Cruz did call. He's running a few minutes late. I think he'll be here momentarily. In the meantime, I'll do my staff report. Mr. Cruz, mailing address of 766 Bourne Road, Lexington, Virginia 24450, has submitted an application for a 3-lot standard subdivision in the general residential zoning district. Property located in or near the Mount Vista subdivision on the northwestern side of the intersection of Moreland Boulevard, Route 1502, and Southwest View Drive, Route 1503. The parent parcel is identified as tax map number 60-A-21, 60-21-A. Property is owned by Mr. Cruz and currently consists of 11.693 acres per tax records. The proposed lots range from 3.009 acres to 5.653 acres. Parcels will be accessed by Moreland Boulevard and Southwest Drive. The rear parcels are accessed by a 20-foot right-of-way beginning at Southwest View Drive and extending to the northwestmost parcel. Property located in Cards Creek subdivision, Cards Creek Magisterial District. A subdivision like this is a regulatory process. Unlike most of the things that we're used to at the Planning Commission, such as rezonings or special exceptions, which is a legislative action. Brief background on the process per section 907.02-10 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. Standard subdivisions are required to be reviewed by the Planning Commission per section 907.02-12 of the regulations. After receiving notification concerning the preliminary plat, the subdivider shall have no more than 6 months to file a final subdivision plat. Per section 909.01 of the regulations, once the final plat is received, the Board of Supervisors shall act on the plat within 60 days. Lastly, per section 909.01-3, the subdivider shall have no more than 6 months after receiving final subdivision plat approval to put the plat to record. With that, if Mr. Cruz is on his way, so we can take comments in the meantime. I'm sharing my screen now, and so I would like to go over some of the details that are available in the package. So this is obviously just a location map. The parent parcel is outlined in green, or excuse me, in magenta. And then of course you have the Vebco easement located on the rear of the property. And as far as the zoning that goes around it, on the zoning map here, you have your yellow on the map, which is R1 general residential, which is Mount Vista is also zoned that same way. And then to the north and northwest, you have your purple or your pink, if you will, and that's agricultural transitional. So this property is entirety in the residential zoning district. To back up a little bit on wells and drain fields, on drain fields, it's a 1 acre minimum lot size for the residential zoning district. Of course, he's not taking advantage of the 1 acre lot size, but rather, and due to some site constraints, obviously as well, he's chose to develop it into 2 3 acre parcels and change and a 5 acre parcel. And then also in your planning commission package, you have the preliminary plat as prepared by Dorsey surveyors. So the planning commission, I know Mr. Cruz did call. He said he'd be a few minutes late, but I'm expecting him here momentarily.
Should we, John, are we allowed procedurally to start with comments and let Mr. Cruz step in and
Oh, yeah, you can follow whatever procedure you think is most effective.
Might be
to get
appropriate. If the
stuff done.
planning commission members have any comments now, we can start with that.
I mean, I'd rather wait
I mean,
at least a little bit because, I mean, some of my questions are for staff, which would be fine right now, but I'd also like the person to hear the questions.
That's up to you all. It would, so are you,
My recommendation you want me to make a motion?
well, no, there, I mean, that's, the chair controls the agenda, so
Okay.
you can decide if you'd like to move on to a next item at this stage and do that, and then come back to this when he arrives.
Hey, Chris, maybe it is a good time to discuss the zoning text amendments. Go out of order on the format. We'll come back to this.
It might be a good time just to review the pamphlet. I don't think this is going to take very long.
Let's do it.
We have some for the public as well, as always. So what I'm passing out now is oddly enough, that talks about rezonings to R2 zoning district. R2 zoning district allows for quarter acre lot sizes. And it does, those lot sizes obviously would require public water, public sewer, at least public sewer. Mount Vista subdivision does not have public water nor public sewer. They're all on drain fields, wells, and with that, we can. Ms. Cruz, I've gone over my presentation. If there's anything that you would like to add, I do have the subdivision up here.
I've got my thing that.
And you want him to do a presentation if he has a.
No, actually, I have my state.
Yeah, that's correct. If Mr. Sabrizi
Yeah.
probably should read his statement now.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I talked to the county attorney and explained to him some of my connection to this, and I'll read the statement. He's done a good job of putting this together. I make the following disclosure with regards to the Cruz subdivision preliminary plat. One, I reside in Mount Vista Development, and in the past, neighbors, including myself, had concerns related to the potential development by I believe a previous owner. Legal advice was sought, and I contribute to the cost of that inquiry. As such, there may be an appearance that I have a personal interest affected by the transaction. Despite that, I've received no compensation from any entity associated with the proposed Cruz subdivision, nor from any entities or individuals that may be opposed to the subdivision. I feel I am able to participate in the transaction fairly, objectively, and in the public interest. For the reasons stated, I am not disqualified from participating in this discussion on the subdivision.
Thank you, Tony. All right, we're going to go back to the order as Mr. Cruz is here.
Yes, sir.
Let's
Yes.
stick with our original order.
Yes, we can come back to the pamphlet.
Mr. Cruz, would you like to make a presentation? I'm sorry. Nothing prepared? Okay. I guess this is a time to take citizens' comments first, and we can have a general discussion afterwards. Let's do citizen, Chris.
We can start with the planning commission, and some of them may be addressed, with some of the
Yeah, I
comments
think
that the
some of
citizens
them
have
might
may
be.
be addressed during the planning commission discussion.
Good idea. Okay. Planning commission members. Tony, go ahead.
Oh, I got a reputation here for a lot of questions, but one thing I would just want to note is that from my experience in this development, these 3 lots will be bigger than most of the lots elsewhere in the development, with a few exceptions. I did have some questions for staff. I thought it was important, maybe Mr. Cruz hears some of the answers because maybe he's as unfamiliar with this process as a lot of us are in terms of what needs to be done. Understand that the approval of this preliminary plat, correct, and also essentially the final plat will be the designated agent as of the last time. That's correct?
We did not modify the designated agent. Are you talking about the recent state law change?
Yes.
We did not change the designated agent when it comes to that because it's a subdivision agent.
Okay, who's that?
Myself.
Okay.
I'm the subdivision
Okay.
agent. And the Board of Supervisors does act on it, but as you know, the Code of Virginia did not exempt the Board of Supervisors from being a designated agent, but technically I am the subdivision agent.
Okay, but you would approve the preliminary
Yes.
plat.
The preliminary plat does not get approved. So per the section, the process is after receiving notification concerning the preliminary plat, and that's your comments that the planning commission makes tonight associated with the preliminary plat. We have 6 months to file a final subdivision.
But you're the one that's responsible for making sure that it meets all the
Yes,
requirements
absolutely.
and
Yes,
stuff.
sir.
You got the
Yes.
checklist somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir. That is correct.
first question. I noticed it looks like to me, and looking at the thing, at the GIS system, that this thing has been subdivided several times. This is not the first time. Is there rules about multiple subdividing a property that's been subdivided? Time frame?
Well, of course, the parent parcel. I mean, I don't know the whole history of Mount Vista.
It's
but
got,
it-
I'm just saying it's 60-21 has A, B, C, D, two Ds, a D1, an E, and an F, and a G.
So there certainly was a parent parcel. To answer your question directly, no, there is no time release zoning, and there's no time release zoning. Let's
Okay.
put it that way. So you could do it. It could have been subdivided in the past when Mount Vista was subdivided, or it could certainly be subdivided in the future.
Okay, in looking at the plat itself, I know there's concerns about wells and septics. I've heard from people in the neighborhood with, problems with wells and water supply. I did notice in a 907.02-8, in regards to the preliminary plat, proposed connections with existing sanitary sewers and existing water supply or alternate means of sewage disposal and water supply it's listed as one of the things that should be on the plat, and it's not on this plat.
So Mr. Cruz has worked with a private soil scientist and has submitted the private soil scientist has submitted the perk test to the health department. But we certainly can, and I'm not sure if the file includes that preliminary or the perk test or not.
But it should be shown on that plat, and the information we have doesn't have any of
Okay,
that.
that could be a deficiency.
The other thing that I'm aware, most of the, and I believe, and I'm almost 100% sure that this property has restrictive covenants on it now. You've told me many times the county does not enforce those. I understand that. But I don't see anything on the plat that kind of indicates, other than it says all restrictions and easement of records. This is parcel subject to. Are they normally included? And how do we make sure that those covenants,
We do not.
but when the deed gets recorded, isn't that something that somebody should be watching out for to make sure that
The
that gets accurate?
private attorneys would be, but the county is not responsible for enforcing or interpreting the restricted covenants.
But but it's part of the deed, and I guess I don't understand why the county would be hands off on it.
The deed's filed with the court. We don't actually get the deed as part of the process.
We don't even review these.
So yeah, deeds would be prepared by the attorneys for the parties and are filed with the court and handled by the clerk of the court, and from a legal point of view, aren't relative to the application.
In general, though, do these parcels, say the parent parcel has the covenant on it, it would then be it would be included in the other two properties?
We're uncertain.
Yeah, and we can't,
We have no idea.
even if I read that, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to opine on that. That would be something that, the parties, council should look at. So normally, in the normal process in the subdivision, it'd be the person trying to subdivide would actually have to look at that, because if they don't follow the covenants, then somebody will have a cause of action against them to stop it from happening. So normally the norm way it's done is they look at the deed first, they understand fully what's attached to that. But that's not part of the process that we do, because that's not included in the statute, and we're prohibited from doing anything that's not included in the statute. So we can't even look at that. Even if we wanted to, it wouldn't be appropriate. But that would be something that other parties, anyone who may have a cause of action, who would have a right to raise that, could raise that. And then when
And
you sell.
who would they raise it to?
That's just, if they have a cause of action, they go talk to their attorney, find out if they have a cause of action. Clearly, the purchaser of these lots would normally have their attorney read through that, and part of the process that their attorney is supposed to do as part of the title search and et cetera, you have to read through the deeds and determine what's there, and they would advise that. So if there's normally what would happen if there's a deficiency in the restrictive covenants, normally makes the lot unsellable. And then I don't know if neighbors or do not have a cause of action there. It would just totally depend on the language in the deed and language on other people's properties, which we as a county could not get involved with.
Thank you. So you're saying, okay, I think you answered that question. There's a reference to PB 5-131. You know what that is?
One more time, PB, that's
There-
gonna be a plat book 4, page 183, or plat book 5. Plat book, PB is plat book,
Oh, okay, okay.
previous plat, so, and.
It was on the document. I didn't have no idea what it was. When the department, when the health department or whoever it is that you just mentioned, that looks as far as perking and wells and things, they look at the karst, possible karst features and stuff, because I know that's been issues and other things that we've done in terms of where you can. put a
They do
drain field
not.
and Stuff.
They do not. They have setbacks for wells, and the wells has to be so far from septics, and you just have to
Right.
follow those guidelines.
And that, I mean, I think that's one of the important things, is that that not being on the plat is an important thing, because
And again, the building department will take care of that. And before you can pull a building permit, you need to get that health
I'm
department.
also thinking about the landowner as well, because if physically can't do it.
Again, I don't know if that's our purview there.
What
again.
could they physically build on?
Hmm?
What could the landowner not physically build on? What are you referencing?
I'm saying if they couldn't they couldn't have the setbacks that they need required.
The health department is responsible for all that. That paperwork that he's submitting right now covers all those details.
But
At least the ones you're talking about.
you are correct. You wouldn't be able to get a building permit if you're not meeting the setbacks. So that would be all required there. So those are things that normally that aren't handled at this stage in the process. But later on through the process, you have to have, you have to have your well approved, you have to have your septic system approved, put in, and it has to be done in accordance with that.
But in my review of the land development regulations right now, that should have been on the preliminary plat. Where the septics,
Yeah, and then that might be something, that Chris can
Yeah, no,
take
that
care
very
of
well
through
could
the
be a
process.
deficiency, and if we want to, we can further continue the discussion and have the
So, yeah,
drain field
yeah.
plat.
So
next
Chris,
month.
Chris can always ask for that information later on. It wouldn't normally be something that the application would die because of that. You just ask for the information that you need to give it to us, and then you move forward.
So to review, for everyone's benefit, to review the setbacks in a general residential zoning district, you're gonna have a 25-foot front, 25-foot rear, and 15-foot sides. That's for the primary dwelling and any decks and porches. There are provisions for a uncovered front porch to project into the front setback of 10 feet. With that being said, that is different than what the health department's looking at as far as their setbacks go. As Chairman Beebe was referencing, the setbacks associated with the well and the drain field. I think there are some setbacks associated with wells when adjacent property has livestock on it, those type of things. It's an increased setback as far as the well goes, but that's all the health department's purview. And just for discussion, with the other pending subdivision we have along Wesley Chapel Road and Poplar Hill, we just got the health department approval letter last week sometime. So that will tell you as far as the time frame of, and that was a 15-lot subdivision.
And that was similar to this, that, we received the preliminary plat without the
Yes.
septic.
And-
like I said, that last time was the first time that at least since I've been on it, that we've had.
We have not had a subdivision, except for the thoroughbred or circle area, I should say, in quite some time. And we've talked about that in the past. And my personal opinion is because we had such a high inventory of subdivisions during the 2003, 2004, the list goes on. And so subdivisions of 2 to 5 acres, if you will, there was a very high level of inventory. What we're seeing as a county now is those very high level of inventories, the Pond subdivision, it goes on and on. Willow Lake, the Longview Meadows, those are all being infilled. And so I am anticipating now that we don't have as high as an inventory, we were anticipating some level of subdivisions coming in the near future. And it's sort of come to fruition with the 15 lot subdivision that we reviewed a couple months ago and now a 3 lot subdivision.
Thank you. Tony,
No, that's it. Thanks.
any other comments from the board members? David? Okay, at this time, we'll do some public, this is a good time for public comments, and you have 3 minutes, I believe, and
That's what we do
your-
for public
since-
hearings. So it'd be, yes.
State your name when you get to the podium, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Becky Smith, and I live at 18 Marlin Boulevard in Mount Vista. And I'm not opposed to the subdivision. I just want to clarify some things. And actually, welcome to the neighborhood. I'm actually really excited to see a young person come up and be productive. I was a teacher, so this is what I want out of the world, right? I'm concerned that it sounds like the covenant. So that right now, we've already been to the lawyer, we already know it's a Mount Vista lot, and we know that it's covenanted. And based on this conversation, I don't understand all your vocabulary, I admit, but I'm confused as to each of the 3. Will they also be covenanted because of the parent covenant? So can you answer that one more time for me? Sorry.
I believe the covenants is not our purview. Is that what?
It's a private deed restriction from between 2 or more parties, and the county does not enforce nor interpret restrictive covenants. In some cases, and I'm not saying it's this case, but in some cases, in most cases, I'll say the restrictive covenants can go above and beyond what the zoning requires. And so to answer your question directly, it's a 100% private attorney question. You would have to address that with a private attorney, not the planning commission nor board of
But
supervisors.
in one key important, deeds are public documents, so you or an attorney could go to the courthouse and get a copy of the deed and see what's on it.
Okay,
And
so
then
we
the
actually
attorney,
want-
and the attorney can give you his or her interpretation of what that means and what that applies to that property.
Okay.
So
So I also believe for example, we have 40-foot setback lines, and I heard you mention 25. So it is different than what the county would approve, but I don't want some young person to waste their efforts and then find out. So anyway, I can give you a copy of the covenant if you'd like. Because he's trying to invest something here, and we want it to be successful, right?
Yes. And then that's a prime example of them going above and beyond what the zoning does.
Okay, so that was one of my questions. I also have a confusion on the paper. We live in Mount Vista subdivision. It's always been named that. And a neighbor asked me, why is it named Cruz subdivision? Is that just because we're talking about Mr. Cruz
Yes.
subdividing it? He's not renaming the property.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
And I was uncertain if this was bona fide part of Mount Vista or not, or a remnant parcel. I knew it was part of the original holdings, don't get me wrong, but I didn't know if the covenants pertain to it or not. So that's good clarification for us to know. Let's put it that way.
I have information. Do you want our attorney's documents, or is that
No,
helpful?
I did
Okay.
look at the restricted covenants through this process.
Okay.
Just I'm always interested in them. Let's put it that way. Even though we don't enforce or interpret, I'm always interested in them. So we will recognize it as portion of Mount Vista in the future.
Well, thank you all for all you do for our county, and we appreciate it. And
Thank
for your
thank
time.
you very much.
Hello, my name is Michael Anderson. I live at 76 Southwest View. I want to reiterate the comments that my friend and neighbor Becky Smith has made. We certainly welcome any new neighbor to the neighborhood. I do want to make sure that I understand a couple of points. And I've heard you say that you do not enforce or interpret the restrictive covenants that are there. Those restrictive covenants do contain things like the minimum size of any dwelling that would be placed there. The restrictive covenants specify other things relative to exposed brick, et cetera. It seems an odd process to me, and maybe this is where we are, but I would just like a clarification that we allow the builder to move forward with what he's going to do. And if we see something which is happening, which is not consistent with the restrictive covenants, then we have to get a lawyer and we have to, begin that way and we have to sue him. And it seems an unfortunate structure that we wouldn't have some oversight of that the covenants exist. Some things, I understand you don't interpret it, but things like minimum size or these stick-built homes, we're certainly concerned that what is built there is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. As you might imagine, if this was happening in your neighborhood, you would want this to be consistent with your homes as well. So again, just please help me understand. It really comes down to neighbors suing builders. If the restrictive
Neighbors
covenants-
suing neighbors. You wouldn't sue the builder, I wouldn't think. But anyway, there's a nice walkthrough here. If Mr. Cruz can tell you all that he's going to stick with the covenants, then you don't have to talk to lawyers. That you might have to monitor whether he does that.
Right.
But there's a friendly way through this preliminary meetings, and just talk to the gentleman. He's got big lots. He can be within your covenants. One thing for Mr. Cruz is, if you're experienced, forgive me, but when your well and your septic approvals come in, make sure there's room for the house. So it should be kind of have where the house is going, and then but
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I do agree that conversations are better than lawsuits. And I
Indeed.
can do that. I do have a question. You show the plot. There are power lines which would be behind where these houses would be built. I presume that the setback relative to those power lines is under your purview. Is that correct?
No. You mean that that's also a private matter, as far as what he can do, what the landowner can do under those power lines, what they can do. Can they cross the power line? Can they build a small shed? We don't know. I will say we have numerous subdivisions in Rockbridge County. Most of our named subdivisions, that I listed earlier. It's not uncommon to have deed restrictions that obviously go above and beyond zoning. And we really never have had, I can't recall in the 20 years I've been here, many laws that get brought to a lawsuit as far as the exterior basin, the minimum square footage of the building, your setbacks. Usually those are all well handled on the private side of things. They're never handled by the county. And as the county attorney stated, we don't have that authority to do that. But we have had hundreds of houses recently built in the Pond subdivision or whatever it may be, and there's never been an issue that I'm aware of that the restrictive covenants have been in odds and it's come to a court.
So forgive me, I'm just going to wrap my mind around this. There are power lines which presumably by the laws in Virginia require a home to be at a certain distance from those power lines.
They just have to be outside of the easement. So Vebco probably, I could tell you exactly what the easement width is. So it looks like Vebco has I could measure it. I don't see it. It's probably 150 foot easement. And so my understanding, the same thing with this is a transmission line. You also have a utility line, and utility lines are usually a 30-foot easement associated with them. The transmission lines are much larger than that, but there are no setbacks. There's very limited deed restrictions of what you can do under those, but there's no further setbacks after them.
So it'll be a matter of the building permit as to whether what he's planning to do is too close or far enough away from
Well,
those lines.
that's also a private matter. An easement goes across the property, and the easement is held privately by the power company in this case. And if they were to encroach on the easement, the power company would enforce it against them. And they're actually quite aggressive in enforcing those
Okay,
things.
all right.
So that's
it would be in Mr. Cruz's best interest to follow those easements.
very, very
Yes.
much so. It'd
Makes
be a
good
very
sense.
expensive mistake if you didn't. So
Understood. I do notice that, and this doesn't affect my property directly, but I see that one of the access roads coming off of Southwest View Drive abuts the property of one of my neighbors, and that changes the character of his particular enjoyment of his dwelling, that there is now an access right next to his driveway. I think what you're saying is that this would be a matter for us to speak with him directly about. That is, the planning commission would have no purview to say whether the access road should be limited to Moreland or whether it can come off of Southwest View Drive, right next to his kids' bedrooms and sort of change the character of his experience. This would be a thing we speak with the developer. Is that, do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, Chris, I believe that it's kind of a by right what he's doing there with the two lots on that right of way. So he has the right to do that. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, and I
Yes.
could share the screen again. There's obviously, these are very large lots comparatively speaking to essentially all the lots in the neighborhood. The lots directly across the street are less than a half acre. Most of the lots most of the smaller lots are less than a half acre. Some of the bigger ones are 1.03 in the median area. And so when you have a 15-foot setback and 40-foot setback, there is an impact of building a house next to each other as well. I would note, but to answer your question directly, he does have the ability to parallel the driveway on his property, obviously, with the driveway, but it can't. My understanding is it can't any more. You cannot increase the drainage on adjacent properties.
I see. Okay. Okay. And so in principle, there's nothing that would prevent him from not making the access off of Southwest View and to keep it coming off of Moreland and sort of avoid that intrusion. That would be a thing which he could do of his own volition.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's my questions and I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you, Derek? Good.
Derek Leslie, I live at 40 Southwest View Drive. My property's surrounded by these three parcels. And again, I'm not here to keep you from doing anything. I just have a few concerns. On this map, if you look at this map, my well sits down in the bottom corner of this field. I have a 15-foot easement along Southwest View Drive, so I just want to make note that that's there. So the proposed right of way would cross over my water line, which, I mean, I guess you can do that. My other concern with Lot A is that is a natural drainage, and water pulls up from my front yard down through that field. When I built the house there, I actually shot it with a transit. It actually rises into that field. And I'm just concerned with this proposed right of way. I mean, he's going to have to essentially build a ramp like I did. I'm concerned that he's going to back the water up even worse on my property. And also the proposed right of way, the way I see it, it's going to put the driveway, the gravel right at the toe of, I have a row of trees planted down my property line. And when I planted them, I pulled a string line from one end to the other, planted them to my side of the string line. And I'm just worried that the driveway itself, it's the toe, the toe of the driveway is going to be right at the trunk of my trees. So when you come down the driveway up, a UPS truck's going to be rushing right along. My only request from Mr. Cruz is maybe if it's possible to make it 30 feet from the property line. So the driveway could actually sit from not right up against my property line, if that makes sense. And again, the drainage, I mean, that's always been an issue there. I've seen water actually get up in my neighbor's basement backed up from my yard. So what I did is I went across my driveway and put a French drain in and just dumped it from one side to the other. But there's no way to get drainage because it's actually rising there. But, I mean, that's just my concern. Like I said, I'm not here to keep you from doing anything. Those are just.
Yeah, he should take care of all those issues. And I think if he knows those issues, sounds like he's paying attention over there. Hopefully those are solvable issues. It just has to be done well. Yeah.
Okay. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Ito, and I live at 110 Moreland Boulevard. I have lived there for just shy of 2 years, and I have felt very welcomed into our neighborhood. I'm grateful for that. And I would welcome new neighbors as well. I have a concern and a question about which county or state entity would help us or help Mr. Cruz do a evaluation, or if I could initiate something with the county, if you guys could clarify for me, based on vehicular traffic into and out of these properties, whether a stop sign, yield sign, those kinds of things would be not necessarily a requirement, but also I'm just curious as to, kids playing in the area and want to make sure that I understand where I could pursue an evaluation of that.
I don't know the answer to that question. Chris, is that inside our purview or outside our purview?
It would be a VDOT question. They're all state maintained roads. I will know Westview Drive currently serves a dozen parcels or so, including Monacan Court, I think it is. Is there not a stop sign on the intersection of Southwest View Drive and Moreland now?
There is not.
That would be a VDOT inquiry.
Okay.
And so we're happy to pass along that inquiry on that motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else present that would like to speak? Vivica, typically nobody's online. Is there anybody online or
Let
Zoom?
me check. No one with their hands raised.
Okay. Additional comment period for us? Any comments?
Appreciate you doing that, though. I think that was,
Yeah.
I think it was valid. That's,
Sure.
you talk about
Sure.
being good neighbors and stuff.
Yeah.
That, and having that visibility here, we just created, I think, some good neighbors.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a logical spot for a subdivision. I think everybody's kind of aware of that because it is a neighborhood. We're not supposed to bounce it off the comprehensive plan, but it would kind of fit, development in the developable corridor. So, any comments, gentlemen? Anybody? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, well, and Chris, you've heard our comments, so you take it from there.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and Mr. Cruz as well.
Thank you. Oh, one last comment before we get out of there. I'd like to acknowledge the letter we received from Larry Ruley.
That's correct. Thank you for doing that. Yes.
Can I ask one question on the figure 2 in the regulations? After the final plat is filed with you guys, it says review and recommendation planning commission. Is that still happening?
What section of code are you on?
I'm in figure 2 in the regular, all the way at the end.
Figure table 2.
It's figure 2, administration of subdivision regulations.
Supervisor reports back within 6 months.
No, and what I'm talking about is right there. When we see it, I didn't think we were going to get it back.
This is it. You file it, then it goes to you, then it goes to the board.
I'm saying, so we'll see a final plat on this
We're
subdivision,
going this way. This is the start.
right?
Y'all.
But we're up here now, though. I assume that filed with you guys.
I think it goes straight to the planning. I think it goes straight to the board. I'll verify that. That's what it is per section. And I have it here somewhere, what I read previously.
Now, I know what you read. I'm just saying that conflicts.
I'm with
that-
you.
with
Yes,
that.
we will follow up on that as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. No, everybody. Okay, I think it's time for a discussion of zoning text amendments. Chris, you gonna fire away or?
Yes. Let me pull back up the agenda package here. So we have 2 zoning text amendments that we have not talked about before. We are still plugging away on some of the previous zoning text amendments. But essentially taking care of some somewhat low hanging fruit for a professional planning term for y'all. With that being one, the first one is discussion of the potential zoning text amendments to provide for the use of public utility service major, a portion of the definition, I should say, as a use by special exception in the residential general and the residential mixed zoning districts. You may have recalled when we did this not too long ago, just in about every zoning district, we have a public utility major as a use by special exception and a public utility service major as a use by special exception in most zoning districts, just about all zoning districts. And we have the minor as a permitted use. And so with that being said, it was an oversight on my part. I apologize, but we did not, for various reasons, we did not put the public utility service major into the residential zoning district. Since that time, staff has received communication from Dominion Energy that they'll be applying for a special exception to rebuild a portion of the existing transmission line that extends from what they call the Rockbridge substation, which is Econo Lane, essentially off Route 11 by Chick-fil-A, to the eastern side of the city of Buena Vista. The proposed project would fall under the public utility service major as defined. During the discussion with Dominion, it was determined that portions of the existing transmission line go through the R1 zoning district. It's also ironic that this last application, obviously we have a transmission line that goes through a portion of the residential zone property on that particular property as well. And so again, while current ordinance public utility minor is a permitted use in the R1 and the R2 zoning district, there's no provisions for providing a public utility service major in the R1 nor the R2 zoning district. So in your agenda item, you have the full definition of a public utility service major, and you have the full definition of a public utility service minor. So what staff is proposing to limit the uses associated with public utility service major in the R1 and R2 zoning districts. Staff has drafted some language for the Planning Commission's consideration. And what it does, I'll just go ahead and read it. They're verbatim between the R1 and R2 zoning district. So what we're proposing is to take this to a public hearing eventually when the Planning Commission's comfortable with it, obviously, and add a section to R1, that's 604.03-9, which would be a special exception to state public utility service major as defined, but not to include generating plants, electric substations, power generated battery storage facilities, data centers, water and wastewater treatment plants, ground mounted solar energy projects with panel zone areas of 1/4 or greater acre, and other related facilities such as equipment / laydown yards and office buildings. So essentially what that does is it would provide for a path forward for Dominion to apply for a special exception for the existing transmission line in a residential zoning district, while limiting other uses in a residential district that might not fit as well as existing transmission lines. And we did the same thing under 604B period 03-7. And that would be adding it to a special exception in the R2 zoning district. I'm unaware of any high power transmission lines that go through a R2 district, but thinking ahead, obviously we could have 5 years ago or 5 years from now, 3 months from now, we could have a larger R2 project that has one, or maybe there's even one that would propose a transmission line that goes through there. To back up a little bit, y'all may recall from previous applications, there are some transmission lines in Rockbridge County that are larger. I think the magic number is 138 kilowatts or larger, kilovolts or larger, that are exempt from local zoning. So some of our larger ones, like the Dooms to Lexington, was exempt from zoning because that was a 550 kV. But the ones we've been generally looking at, the ones that have been from Balcony Falls to the city of Buena Vista, from Rockbridge substation to Lexington substation, they all have been 115 kV, and so they are not exempt from local zoning. and the one that's coming up that goes through the ponds. And then I think it's the Riviera subdivision, if I recall correctly, that goes through two sections. They are all the 115 kV, so they're not exempt. And so what we have as far as a recommendation, if there's a consensus of the planning commission, direct staff to either conduct additional research and return the item for further discussion, or you could instruct staff to schedule a public hearing for the June 10th, 2026 commission meeting.
Any comments, gentlemen?
What was the specific concern? Was it the ponds?
Yes, so we have been in contact with Dominion, and they have, they're preparing an application to redo from the Lexington substation, Rockbridge substation, which is the Chick-fil-A, behind Chick-fil-A, all the way to the city of Lexington.
Where's the R1 that's of
The
concern?
Ponds is one of them. The Ponds is the
Just one of
closest
them?
I think there's two of them. The other one is the Riviera subdivision, I believe.
Okay, so that's what, on the other side, 81?
That is on the other side of 81. Yes, I can tell you for sure.
Do you know of any other
Yeah.
areas that this could come up again?
The Mount Vista subdivision we just reviewed. That has a transmission line going through R2 or R1 zoning. And there's probably other
Is there
examples.
any way of just making an exception for them rather than,
That's what we're doing.
no, we're changing the regulation in order for them to be able to put a special exception. in,
Yes, that's
right?
correct. Yes.
Right.
To
But is
allow
there a
them to
way
pass
that we
forward.
can give Dominion the
Yeah.
exception for?
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Without a special exception permit, you mean just to say it's a permitted use for these areas?
I don't know.
No,
You
you could not.
is there,
The special exception would be the proper way to allow them.
because now we're letting, but those other things into R1 and R2 where I think
We are not allowing those other things. in
as
R1.
special exceptions though.
No, we are not. The definition reads, the definition, so again, in red, 604.039, the definition would the use by special exception would be public utility major as defined, but not to include generated plants, everything we've listed here.
Sorry, I thought it was the same definition we were using, that we were just, you're actually changing. We're not just adding a special exception opportunity for public major, we're actually changing public utility major definition.
No, we are not changing the definition. It says public utility service major as defined, but not to include these examples. So it's limited to what we have proposed is not to include generating plants, substations, electrical stations, substation, power generating plants, all the things that would not be appropriate in staff's opinion to be in a residential zoning district.
So I guess, so it's kind of like we're changing it definition in that particular area. We're saying that this is what it is, but we're going to take out of that definition for that particular area. So you can't build everything that's allowed normally under.
Ironically enough, that's exactly what the previous ordinance did. I can't remember if it was in the residential zoning district. I don't think it was, but it was the conservation zoning district. It had this similar language is where we got it.
The 302.164 doesn't change.
One more time. That's correct. That does not change.
Does that help, Tony? Because that
No,
definition
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
change.
yeah.
What we're doing is adding an addendum in essence, saying these restrictions are there. So that red is going to be tacked on to that end.
It was a misunderstanding. I just thought we were, because we purposely did not include some of these things when we did this several months ago. And I was thinking we all of a sudden now are with a special, under a special exception, but no, that sounds good. I would support having staff prepare it, but.
Chris and staff, thank you very much. Proceed with the public hearing.
One more question. So we're saying that out of the definition of public utility service major, then they were excluding everything else. So what's left? Is it just like
It's literally transmission lines.
Okay.
It really is. I mean, that's what it
gas
is.
lines, gas lines as well, right?
This includes gas lines. Yeah, you're exactly correct. Yes. So it would not include electric lines, gas lines, and other transmission lines of regional nature that are not otherwise approved by the State Corporation Commission. And there is examples. Thoroughbred Circle is a good example of a gas line that goes through R2 zoning.
Yep.
So yes, that's a good clarification. I apologize. I missed that. If you would like to instruct staff, we do need a motion
Okay.
to instruct staff to take it. to
Do
vote.
we have a motion, gentlemen?
I'll make a motion to instruct
We have-
staff to finalize this thing and bring it to public hearing.
We have a motion.
At the June 10th, 2026 meeting.
Tony Spreezy made a motion and Adam Sanders seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? It's unanimous. Proceed.
The next one is unusual, I will say. We're dealing with this as a potential zoning text amendments for section 504 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development regulations pertaining to gardens and chickens. Prior to the zoning text amendment approved by the Board of Supervisors on March 28th, 2011, 504 pertains solely to gardening. Would like to provide a little bit of background of how this came about. It was a family out 251 area in a residential zoning district, and they bought chicks from Tractor Supply or the 4-H agent, whatever it was. Well, one of those chicks grew up to be a rooster, and so they could not. They even told us we could not get rid of the rooster fast enough. And so, with the rooster crowing in a residential neighborhood in a residential zoning district, we got a handful of phone calls, believe it or not. And so, rightfully so, the family brought in their two younger children and asked the planning commission, can we have chickens in our neighborhood? And so it started a fairly big legalized chickens movement in Rockbridge County. You've probably seen those bumper stickers. And so after discussion, what the Board of Supervisors, the Planning Commission recommended, and what the Board of Supervisors did was amended section 504 to allow it added to chickens. Unfortunately, what we did is we added the language that pertained to gardening, and it said gardening and the keeping of 6 female chickens shall be exempt from zoning permit requirements in any zoning district allowing residential uses, provided that such gardening and keeping of female chickens not objectionable for reason of odor, dust, noise, pollution, soil erosion, sediment control, drainage. Roosters shall not be allowed. The minimum acreage requirement for keeping of chickens shall be 1 acre, and any structures and pens erected for such purpose shall be located in the rear yard, 20 feet off any side and rear property lines. The chicken shall be required to contain within a pen at all times. The current language is problematic due to the phrase any zoning district allowing residential uses, because this obviously includes our agricultural zoning districts. So the way it currently reads, you can't have a rooster in the agricultural zoning district. You have to have 1 acre. You have to have them in a pen at all times, and that is in conflict with the Right to Farm Act. And so, with that being said, staff to update this information, staff has drafted the following language for the Planning Commission's consideration, and essentially. What we have done is obviously in any residential zoning district, rather than we added any residential zoning district and struck through any zoning district allow residential uses. Then we further emphasize it, if you will, roosters shall not be allowed in the residential zoning districts. The minimum acreage for keeping of chickens in the residential zoning district should be 1 acre. And it just goes on to essentially update and to correct, if you will, what the intent was in 2007. I believe it or not, it only came up one time fairly recently, and that's hence someone called and said, well, I told my neighbor that, they can't have roosters. I was like, you're middle of nowhere. What are you talking about? She read this to me. I said, I can understand that interpretation. And so with this one, the same thing.
Talks about permits. So does anybody that has chickens have to get a permit?
No, and I actually thought about striking that. I mean, the zoning permit could be that it's not a formal permit process. No, there's not a formal permit process.
Okay. That kind of struck me as I thought, is there a chicken permit somewhere out there?
Yeah, and I actually thought about it, John. I didn't get a great opportunity to talk to you about this, but the original draft we had actually struck through provided that such gardening and the keeping of female chickens shall not be objectionable for reasons of odor, dust, noise, pollution, soil erosion, sedimentation, or drainage. You know, do you, and I apologize bringing this up at the meeting, but do you think that's needed in there when you're talking about the keeping of 6 female chickens? I'm trying to figure out.
My concern on that is enforcement. So
Yeah.
what do we mean by those terms and who's the one that has
Yes.
to enforce it? So that would be my concern. I think obviously since we're coming here to ask to set a public hearing, I guess it gives us time to work on
Yep,
words
I
before we
agree.
actually get to the public
Yes.
hearing. So
And we'll also revisit, because I actually played with that zoning permit to strike that out or not. I need to do a little bit of additional research before to essentially figure out where.
One
that
of the things,
came.
I was thinking about, again, I'm one of the people lives in a neighborhood, and I mean, this could get out of hand. So this, in R1 and R2, you can have chickens as long as you have these setbacks.
And
That's
an
the way it
acre.
reads.
So it's very.
And an
limiting,
acre.
And an acre. So Mount Vista, most lots in Mount Vista would not.
All right, well, I'm not ratting on any of my neighbors, but
So no guineas and no turkeys, Tony?
I don't, none of my neighbors give me any eggs. Now, if that was the case, different story, but I don't know. I mean, again, we talk about enforcement. Enforcement is quite frequently with complaints.
Yeah.
95%. I mean, I would say 99% of the time with chickens in residential zoning.
Right.
district,
So, I
yes.
mean, the thing is, as long as there's no complaints and you're a good neighbor, you can probably get away with it. So, I mean, but the one thing I thought about too, if in the non R1 or non 2, could you possibly have some agricultural zone land that maybe the neighbors, or can you have less than an acre in any of the agricultural?
Yes, the current lot size since 1995 is 2 acres or greater, but there are numerous lots. I won't say hundred, it might be hundreds of examples of lots in an agricultural zoning district that are less than that are less than an acre.
Well, I'm just saying, there's someone that lives in a residential area like I do. Is there people elsewhere that could have that same kind of concern that it could get out of hand on a smaller lot, but they're exempt now because of,
No, because they were essentially the right to farm. I mean, we can't.
in agriculture?
Yeah, in
if
agricultural
it's,
zones,
yeah, if
yes.
it's zoned agriculture, we can't do anything on
Yes.
confinement agriculture.
I mean, because that,
The only thing we can do setbacks are certain things we can require within an agricultural zone, but we can't make any limitations as to the animals that they raise and how they raise them, things of that nature.
just like the chicken houses.
Yeah, you put a chicken house, as I said, I mean, chicken houses, my big concern is somebody's going to come down here and turn this into Smithfield and put a 10,000 sow confinement multi-story building, and that would be recognizable from miles away. But
Can we
there's nothing,
change the
but
name of
by
that?
law, we can't do anything about that. If somebody wants
We
to
changed the AT name, and doesn't that solve a lot of the problem?
change the what, excuse me?
The name AT?
If
you look at the definition, it doesn't-
If we remove it, if it's no longer an agriculture zone, then we have quite a bit of control over what we allow and don't allow. But if it's zoned agriculture, we cannot do anything to
I mean, some of
beyond things like
And we
setbacks.
certainly played with the, I should say play, because that's not, we explored that, some localities would rural residential, rather than agricultural transitional, explored rural residential, and then you can have these provisions. But I will add I won't say the vast majority of our agricultural transitional, but there are some bona fide agricultural areas, obviously, in our agricultural transitional. And we've also talked, even in the comp plan last time, we had some discussion of creating a hierarchy of a rural residential, another service district, I should say, service area that really would be better served as a rural residential versus just doing the whole AT, let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I mean, in light of, a lot of the stuff the Economic Development Authority is trying to do, so much of that corridor up Route 11 up to there is AT. And like I said, if somebody could get more money off of a chicken house for their property than a planned unit development, that's kind of defeating
Yeah,
that purpose.
you couldn't stop them if they want to do chicken house on it.
No, I know, I'm saying, but
no,
you
but
could
yeah,
if it wasn't agriculture.
Sure. Yeah, I think that you'd obviously the rezoning, as Chris knows very well, is a political process, and people will be supportive of it, people won't be supportive of it, and y'all will be thrown right in the middle of that if we go down that way.
All right, we'll stay on task here. Would anybody like to make a motion? What motion can include minor tweaks to proceed with public hearing? Is that correct?
Yeah, and we could talk about it next month for sure. And we have the flexibility. The way the ad is written, we have the flexibility that we
Yeah,
can.
yeah, the ads nowadays don't have to be specific, so that's general statements.
I'll make a motion to bring a tweaked version of the gardening and chickens zoning text amendment to the June 10th meeting for public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by David Whitmore, second by Adam Sandridge. All those in favor? Aye. Nay. Motion carries unanimously. Hey, Chris, do you want to have a quick discussion about this thing? Is that why we're here? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in front of y'all, Tony had emailed the group about the pamphlet. And so the Department of Economic Development has been working on a pamphlet to further highlight the R2 zoning district. And so what you have in front of you, you have a draft pamphlet and you have a internal policy memo of how it would be targeted distribution of the R2 also in a draft version. And so this is a draft version because it's my understanding that this has been sent to the individuals of the Board of Supervisors. And I don't know how many we've heard from or how many the Department of Economic Development's heard from and how many they have not heard from. And so that's essentially why it's still a draft version. But staff has been involved. I'm sorry, the Office of Community Development staff has been involved with this from soon after the conception of the idea. And so I think it is, I think it's a good idea. It will be interesting to find out just how much business this drums up for us. I think we'll get inquiries. Don't get me wrong, but the first inquiry would this is a Office of Economic Development brochure, and so rightfully so, the contact information is for the Office of Community Development, and then they would field some of the questions, then primarily field some of the questions and send them to the Office of Community Development.
I guess rezoning would come into play if someone wanted to do something in AT and these rules are better, like less than an acre. Would be rezoning to R2 rather.
This is essentially informational package associated with the rezoning. It goes through what is the R2 zoning district. It's got the contact information, and then why consider R2, and then is your property a good fit? And that's really the elephant in the room. Always had a bird in hand, whatever you want to say. The water and sewer obviously is the critical part of the R2 zoning district. When you're talking about quarter acre lot sizes, got to have public sewer.
We should kind of review this and discuss it.
Yeah, and we
do our homework.
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at it this afternoon. My main concern was we hadn't seen it at all. But when I looked at it, I said, okay, this is what, we had some discussions in the community development committee in terms of, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of interest, at least a couple of the board of supervisors in
It's so
strategically
development driven.
changing
Yeah,
stuff.
you're right.
But if somebody's willing, to
Somebody
change their
shows
property.
up, I think
Well,
we
it's
should.
like the solar things, they got the opportunity to do a special exception there. People come and do that. This is educational. I think it might say, oh, you mean I could talk
That's certainly
somebody
that
in
kind of
the-
board to do that project.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I think we've already shown that this is a good way of doing it with that, the frail and fix thing is that was now, you can put an apartment there and
Agreed. I think there was positive sentiment all around through the last meeting. So this is an unactionable item. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any further discussion on that, gentlemen?
related to zoning text amendment, I do want to, we now have a couple things moving forward. We talked about last time the digital signs And now, you know, another month's going to go by and we're not going to do anything with that. I mean, I would like to see if we can get consensus is that we come up with a priority list of things that need to be done. Some things could be done quickly and fast. Some things will take a little bit longer.
Yes.
You
We've
don't
got
think
the-
chickens are important?
Huh?
You don't think
But it was
chickens are
fast. We
important?
could do it fast. though. That
Yes.
was the thing. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, we can do some of that. We've got the plan unit development, the ADUs, stuff like that to try to work in. and-
So the immediate need, I will say, and Mr. Tyree has done a draft of the electronic message center, and John is reviewing it. I have not had an opportunity to review it. So we have made strides on that particular issue. With that being said, there is a fair amount of state law that we're required to change, and some of that is due July 1st, 2026. Ironically enough, the solar ordinance has some modifications that we're required to do between now and July 1st, 2026. So anything that is required by state law will be our priority next month.
And if we had a list though of those things, I think we're kind of, like I said, the electronic message board thing, we talked about it. Well, we didn't talk about it at all, really, other than it was an issue.
Yes, that was coming up. Yes.
So, you know, it just seems like to me, everything is going to take 60 days, which I don't necessarily think it needs to take 60 days.
Some of them do. I mean, it depends.
oh,
Like
definitely.
these,
Some of them takes
again,
months.
the professional planning term, low hanging fruit on these two tonight. They were easier. And I thought we could draft something that it was not
I'm
going to
saying
take
I'd like to
months do it.
see, you know, you probably have a list up here.
Yeah,
in
no,
terms
and
of-
we can either email that out.
That's fine, yeah.
And some of them, and it is a ever moving shuffleboard, if you will. And I think with the state law change some of things are required to change in July 1st, 2026, and we'll be a little bit behind the game because we'll have discussion. We'll have something prepared for you. Solar ordinance, for example. There's many things in the solar ordinance that's required to change, and so we will have a draft for y'all. It's our goal, and it's an achievable goal for sure, to have a draft for y'all's consideration in the June meeting and take it to public hearing in July. And we won't.
And one thing to keep in mind is, y'all are probably aware that in the next board meeting, the issue of the codification of the LDR into the county code is coming up. So there would be the renumbering things. And so part of our plan had been that we get that taken care of. Then we meet together, because Chris and I will be working together and creating that list, hierarchical list of the things that need to be changed within the LDR. And so assuming the board supervisor passes I guess it's the modification to move the LDR into the county code, that just result in a renumbering of it. And then it'll make things smoother to move forward with all the changes. But that's one of my goals, one of Chris's goals is over the next several months to get the LDR completely worked through and be continually doing it. So it'll be a busy time to get that done. So that's clearly something I think we've met together several times on it, and we'll continue to meet together and come up with a prioritized list of what needs to be done. But I think one of the most important things, as you said, and we've already talked about, is there are several things that will need to be taken care of because of this recent legislative session, which did make some significant changes, some small changes, but many of them that require action on the county side. And I'm still going through looking for all the bills that have been chaptered, meaning that they've been signed by the governor and actually are becoming part of the code. I'm going through those individually just because, we've been burned last time before when the service I get that's supposed to tell me what's updated didn't include some things. And so we're going through individually to find out what they are. And I know that Chris's office has already handed me several things that they think need to be dealt with.
We appreciate the effort.
We do have one on accessory dwelling units. There's a major state law change on accessory dwelling units, so that will be good. But unfortunately, that doesn't take effect until, which is somewhat unusual, July 1st, 2027.
Right.
But we won't wait till July 1st, 2027. But there's a couple more handfuls that go into effect on July 1st, 2026. BZA stuff, Board of Zoning Appeals. Do we have to do a zoning text amendment on those? I think some of them we do. Yeah, and so y'all, even though you're not directly involved in the BZA, there obviously is a land development regulation chapter pertaining to the BZA. So any zoning text amendments that we need to do to update it per state law, y'all would be part of the process as the zoning text amendment, I should say.
Okay. Chris, anything else on your agenda for this evening?
No, sir.
Comments, gentlemen, or a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I don't think I need names on this one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
First motion to adjourn.
Thank y'all. And welcome aboard. Absolutely.
Mr. Melvin.